a warning?
There's nothing to worry about.
I'm worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
It was a simpler time with simpler needs.
Your mother would never forgive me if I took the view.
I don't know why we're arguing, because we don't have it. We have no view.
I have a view, so does George. My son George here. You can have our rooms, and we'll have yours. We can change.
Certain things were acceptable.
Up to now, I have never kissed you.
No, you haven't.
May I now?
Certain things were not.
Lucy!
There was a time and place for everything.
She has accepted me.
What joy.
Life was perfect because there was order.
Gracious life. Oh, my poor dear girl, you are so young. You cannot realize what men can be.
One has always to be open, wide open. I think Miss Lucy is.
Open to what, Miss Lavish?
To physical sensation.
There are some chaps who are no good for anything but books. I plead guilty to being such a chap.
You don't mean you're going to marry that man?
You're being ridiculous.
What an impossible person.
If you think I'm in love with someone else, you're very much mistaken.
It's ridiculous, these niceties. They go against common sense.
This tremendous thing has happened between us. I love you. If Miss Honeychurch ever takes to live as she plays, it will be very exciting.
Welcome back to the show, listeners.
Welcome back to the show.
Girls, gays, and days. What a whirlwind weekend it's been.
Exactly.
I'm excited to talk about this movie, but I mean, all week long there's been some things are happening. The ball is rolling. I feel like we as gay people, we get to choose our vice presidents, and there's some good shit happening this week.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I'm excited, and I'm super stoked to talk about this movie. Listeners, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay.
Yes.
Welcome back to the show, my friend Rufino Cabang. Welcome back.
Rufino.
Hi, thanks.
You were last on deep in the pandemic for our Parent Trap episode.
Yes.
That is way back in the catalog. I can't remember what number it was.
It's like 40 or something.
But it is so good to have you back in person.
Absolutely.
And we are talking about...
You're at the kitchen table with us.
We are talking about tonight A Room with a View, directed by James Ivory, screenplay by Ruth Prower Javavra. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Javoila?
Javoila? I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyways, based on the book by E.M. Forrester, produced by Ismail Merchant, released in New York City March 7th, 1986, released in the United Kingdom April 11th, 1986, and then had its States release summer of that year, May 23rd.
Yes.
A movie that
86.
we had not watched until a mere 45 minutes ago. we just finished the episode.
Fresh.
So A Room with a View was always one of those movies that I had always heard talked about, primarily because of the skinny dipping scene. That I always heard that it was essential viewing. So what a fun opportunity to finally watch it, Rufino.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Thank you for bringing this one to us.
Thank you for bringing this with us. Oh, and before we get too into the conversation, Haley Mills from The Parent Trap,
yes,
having a big moment right now, returned to the screen for
M. Night Shyamalan's
M. Night
Trap.
Shyamalan Trap.
You're kidding.
She plays a major character in Trap.
Oh my gosh.
So neither of us have seen it, and clearly you haven't either. So
No, I didn't know
spoilers,
about it.
listeners. We won't get too
But
deep
I
into
like that M. Night
but she-
Shyamalan
yeah.
like threw Haley a bone.
I
Yeah.
love Haley Mills.
And she's like a major
Yeah.
part of that movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Does she play twin FBI agents? We don't know.
Does Josh
find
Hartnett
out.
play twins?
Does Josh
in it?
Hartnett play twins? Who knows? It's going to be a gag. We're
We've
going to
been
be
meaning to get to it,
excited for it all.
but
yeah.
But yeah, because I always think of you whenever
Haley Mills.
Haley Mills comes up in a conversation. I did read her book too.
Oh, that's right.
Her
You told me
memoir.
you did.
It was really good.
That sounds good.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
should do that.
So, yeah, the two of us are fresh with this movie. I do have memories of, the whole, like, Merchant Ivory, like, era, of the late 80s and the early 90s.
It's my love language.
And it's definitely a type of a movie.
I mean,
man.
it's kind of a 1-2 punch of Maurice, A Room with the View, Remains the Day. Mm-hmm. That's like, that's like
well,
the
they did Howard's End as well.
Howard's
right?
End, like the whole. I guess that's like the holy trifecta. Is that four?
Yeah,
a
quadrilogy.
The quadrilogy of the Merchant Ivory joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Rufino, why don't you tell us about your history with this movie?
I saw this movie. I think I had just turned 20 years old, and I was at that point when I was really getting into movies. Like in high school and everything, I would see movies that were intended towards a young audience, but I always knew they were a separate category for me.
Sure.
And I was craving kind of like what I would consider mature entertainment.
Yeah.
And then when I saw this, because I would go to LA Weekly, LA Weekly would have movie reviews like Manola Dargis and all these people that wrote in them.
Yeah.
And that was my guide.
Yeah.
So this was one of the ones.
Yeah.
The previous year, I saw My Beautiful Laundrette by Stephen Frears.
Love My Beautiful Laundrette.
Yeah. And that had like such an influence on me. And then the following year, I saw this. I saw A Room with a View. And those two movies kind of gained a foothold. Anyway, Room with a View ties with Star Wars. For me, for the movie I have seen the most times in a theater.
Oh, okay.
How many times did you see this in the theater?
I mean, like comparatively to a lot of people, not that many, but 13 times for each.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I could not get this movie out of my head. It affected me in a certain way. I think it's a great movie for our times now because it tackles defying convention and society telling you what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And women's rights.
Yeah.
And women's agency. And anyway, also the other thing was there was a 1-2 punch with two performances from Daniel Day-Lewis in a row.
Yeah.
From Beautiful Laundrette to this.
And you couldn't think of two different
wildly disparate.
I don't even think Daniel Day-Lewis has ever played a character like this.
I've
in
never
his
seen
entire filmography, I think.
Exactly. I haven't seen anything as funny.
Yeah.
Although I never saw Stars and Bars, which nobody saw. With Dennis Hopper in it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole time I'm watching this, I'm getting, and this is my like dumb this is my only Merchant Ivory movie I've seen. So this is my like dumb guy take. I'm like, oh, I'm getting Richard Roxburgh. I'm getting the Count in Moulin Rouge.
A little bit.
Right?
I can see that.
That over the top kind of like. When I saw Moulin Rouge, I was like, okay, this is crazy. This character is parody. Even then, people didn't talk. This is nuts. And I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, that's what he's doing. He's doing. Daniel Day-Lewis in Room with a View. I get it now. But yeah, it's such a crazy, not crazy, but I mean, yeah, such a departure from what you think of, I guess.
Yeah, to see Posh as funny.
Yeah.
For him to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime I watch movies that deal with kind of an aristocracy class or whatever, I always feel like, okay, which one are you? And I'm like, okay, which footman am I? I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna be, Freddie.
You're one of the guys.
To be Freddie.
You're one of the guys like. I'm
not even
driving the coach.
Yeah, I'm not even lucky
Pole.
enough to be like Mr. Beebe. I'm Pole in this movie. I'm like,
Pole.
I'm like, I'm in the basement like scrubbing like the laundry against a rock. with the washboard or something. Like I don't get to hang out with the upstairs. I'm definitely downstairs in this one. But you know, you love to see it and you love to live vicariously through these people. And what I loved about this particular group of people is that the Honeychurch family is that they're of like that name. I mean, come on,
Lucy
and where do they live?
What a name for a protagonist!
And where do they live? At Pooh Corner or whatever, like
Windy Corner,
this Windy Valley
on Summer Street.
So when I see the Honeychurch family and Freddie and his relationship with the sister and the mother and all that, they clearly are kind of like the bohemian weirdos at the end of the block.
As bohemian as you could get
for Regency
England in 1909.
Yeah. And I don't know if have either of you seen Remains of the Day?
No.
Okay, because the sisters, Helena Bonham Carter and Emma Thompson play the sisters in that.
Okay.
They come from a similar
Sure.
bohemian. They're friendly to the servants. They're blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think Ian Forster liked to portray.
Yeah.
Let's make them nice people. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, you want to root for the protagonists,
Right.
You never want it to be people that you can't get behind. I get kind of a feeling of like the March Sisters of just like,
oh, absolutely,
you know, they're more. Yes, they have money or they're of certain cast.
They're of the people,
but that's what the readers wanted at the time. They didn't really want it. You couldn't read. You know, you don't want to read about the dirt poor,
right?
Then, so you're going to read about a certain class, but they're going to be a little bit more relatable to all of us.
They're like the March Sisters, but with a portfolio of somewhat. They've gotten a little more invested.
But I mean, immediately when this movie starts and you see 18-year-old Helena Bonham Carter, this cloud of hair and this like teensy little nose, and she just looks like a Gibson girl angel. Like, she's always been a beautiful woman. But in this movie, this huge,
and it's so interesting because my references for Helena Bonham Carter is that I think I first watched her in The Wings of a Dove.
Yes,
as a child. So I mean, anything that's Helena Bonham Carter, it's like late 20s after. Is anything after Wings of the Dove and Fight Club. So it's really fun to watch her. I mean, probably
so early on.
19 years old.
Is it her second movie?
Second movie,
Her second movie that at least that I'm aware of.
Well, she was just coming off of. I was going to say she was just coming off of that.
Yeah.
It's her second credit, but Lady Jane, I believe, was released afterwards. At least in the IMDb order.
At least in U.S., because I remember seeing it.
And it was probably going off of the success of the international box office of A Room with a View.
Yes.
To how they marketed it.
Okay, yeah. So she's, like, stunned. She's amazing. And
Gorge.
then
She's a cameo. Is what I remember reading. She's a cameo.
Absolutely. And the whole time too, I'm watching this, and again, my like very pedestrian take on this. I'm like, so is this like My Fair Lady times, or is it more? No, I didn't say My Fair Lady. What did I say? Barbara.
Funny Girl Times.
Is it Funny Girl? Is that Funny Girl? Is this Funny Girl Times? Is it Mary Poppins
Funny
time?
Girl is set around
1900s.
I mean, 1907. I'm seeing on Wikipedia. Is that sort
Edwardian?
of is that kind of the end of Edwardian England?
It's like until 1910 or 1911, I think.
Well, I think that the big sort of event that's the big change of time.
Yeah,
I think it's the Titanic sinking.
Oh, okay.
I think that's
that was
kind
1912.
of 1912, and I think that's kind of the transition of like Edwardian England to kind of I mean, I don't know what after Edwardian England is.
Is it Georgian?
Georgian. For the minute and a half that it was Georgian. Yeah.
I only know.
I mean, so interesting. Of just sort of when you look at the early.
See, I know stuff.
1900s, and then when you get to the 20s, it's just like so much of the world changes.
Yeah,
the abrupt
in that amount of time.
Yeah, and me being kind of learning things through pop culture, I kind of got a timeline of that culture through Downton Abbey.
Absolutely.
When Mary bobs her hair, that's when you know.
In episode 1 of Downton Abbey, they talk about the Titanic sinking.
Yes.
I mean, that's just like a big milestone of kind of the old rich in England.
Exactly.
Just kind of talking about this time periods and stuff, and obviously a Merchant Ivory production is going to be pretty. I know they're pretty accurate to the book and to the storyline. And I know just kind of visually it looks fairly accurate. We're changing the channels around the other day, and the 100% accurate Greatest Showman comes on.
I've never seen it.
You know, and Michelle Williams is walking around, and her hair is down.
Yeah.
And we're just like, why does she look so weird? Like, what is going on with her styling that doesn't look right? And it's like, her hair is down. Like, I feel like they would come with the butterfly net and put it over her. And be like, come on, crazy woman.
They're going to be yanking
home.
her off like the streets, like she's being booed off of Showtime at the Apollo.
Like
or something.
only little girls were allowed to not have their hair up in these like Mrs. Garrett saloon
madam.
They all had the hair. They all had the same hair. The mom, Maggie Smith, even Helena, when she was
always up.
It was always up, but it was the big like loose bun right in the back, and it's a little Mrs. Garrett. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just we're watching Greatest Showman going, she just looks off for some reason. It's the hair.
Well, other than that, there is kind of a sheen about the Greatest Showman that
also
looks very cheap.
Yes.
Yeah. Also.
It's just
well, it's like the Big Valley. I mean, Linda Evans and all the other cowgirl women have false eyelashes on. It's
right.
Just,
Totally. Or
those
there's some like Hallmark TV shows, When Calls the Heart.
Yeah.
All of these beat faces.
Every time the commercial comes on,
faces.
I say to my friend, apparently they live next to a Sephora.
Yeah. It's crazy. The hair, the face. It's like, oh, come on. Who are we kidding? So,
would you say that what makes sort of the James Ivory, they call him Jim. They called him Jim in all of the Criterion supplements, Jim Ivory. Would you say that kind of what makes James Ivory's movies at that time unique was just how stunning looking they are? Like, there's nothing really stuffy about the visual look of these movies. Like, they're exactly like what I said, a movie. It's just like, this is cinema, baby. But yeah, I think that's kind of what made Ivory, like Merchant Ivory, like that aesthetic so successful overseas, is just how these movies are shot.
It brought people. It's romantic. I remember when I saw Remains of the Day, I was stunned by the visuals because they were elaborate, like in the train station and everything. But then watching this again, Room with a View, just like them in the field.
Yes,
just the poppies.
Yes,
it's everything like that.
All
like
that in
stunning.
Italy. Yeah, absolutely.
All how these scenes in Florence are shot.
So my God!
But even back when they are in England, and just these like fields that they're just let's go
views.
I mean, not to dwell too much on the bathing scene, but there was
it's picturesque.
It is, and when Lucy and her mother are walking down, and they're in the stark white, and they've got like the parasols and all this stuff, and they're walking. It's so like, oh my God, these shots. It's that thing where you just pause it. Any shot, you pause it, and it's portrait. It's a Bob Ross painting. Yeah.
I mean, this is a perfect summer movie to program because this is like the English countryside in the summer, England or Italy. Yeah,
both of them, and. Well, one's where you get your hot carnal knowledge, and one's when you you go back to Earth, I guess. The way they're presented.
So, okay. So this is, like we keep shouting out, this is a Merchant Ivory production, and this movie starts, and the first title card, it says Merchant Ivory. And there's like this title card, and I was like, is that their production logo? That is wild.
Yeah.
But it's throughout, right?
Yes.
It's these logos.
Visual vignettes.
Yeah.
And I take it that's probably,
like chapters.
Is that a tie into the book? Like, are these chapters from the book that they have title cards of?
The visuals, I think, just add the visual, but the titles are from the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured that they were taken as from titles.
But they almost look like China or like China pattern.
They do.
Or
cloisonne enamel.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. So that was very like, all right, this is a real fancy movie.
Yes.
This is a fancy one. And I did turn the subtitles on immediately because I was like, all right, these
I always do with accents. I like subtitles.
Yeah. We're getting to
like
that
dialogue.
point where we're like, they're probably almost always on. Okay. Immediately, Maggie Smith is like front and center in this movie, and I love it. And she is like quintessential you know, Edwardian woman with the big poofy, you know, bun and the silhouette, everything. She's almost giving a little like Lady Tremaine.
Charlotte
her, like,
Bartlett,
costuming.
a chaperone.
A chaperone, yes. Oh, I love that too. The credits were almost like you're watching a play or production, the way the titles are, which is really cool. But I know her character is supposed to be kind of annoying, and everybody's always annoyed with her. And cousin Charlotte, you know. But she's funny. Like she's really funny to me.
So good.
She's funny, and this time I don't know how many times I've seen it now.
Yeah,
just at home now. But this time was the first time I saw a new perspective for this movie. Was that it's also her view. This is her chance to live out what she rejected.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we'll fast forward later, but it is for me. I'm seeing, oh my God, then I started to cry because I was like, this is Charlotte's reckoning with her past, where she said, you know, didn't take the chance.
Right. Did she also have a George Emerson man?
Well, she did have an adventure.
Yeah.
In the town around Shropshire, as we learned. Yeah. I divine. You had an adventure there.
That's right.
You know?
I divine.
I was also thinking of, for these opening scenes, of sort of this novelty of seeing the world at this time, especially if you were from money.
Yes.
That this was at a time where probably getting around the world was considerably easier than it was probably 20-some years before.
Yeah.
That you could easily make it from England to Tuscany or somewhere in Italy, and it probably wasn't
Florence,
all of that hard to do. And
it just took longer, but it was simpler.
Took longer. It was simpler. I mean, somewhat economic for people with money, that it didn't cost all that money to get train tickets, boat tickets, and see the world.
Although, let me tell you this. If I paid for a room with a view,
you better goddamn get
damn
it.
Yes.
I'm getting that room with a view.
Yes.
When it immediately starts off and the conversation is that, and I'm just like, oh my God. It was giving a little White Lotus for a second.
Sure.
Season 1.
100%. Yeah.
Just like, well, that's what we paid
this
for.
This is not what I saw in the brochure.
It's not a question of privilege. It's a question of justice.
Exactly.
Fairness.
Yeah. But then we get the idea of right away, Denham Elliott from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he's really good in this movie.
He's so good.
Yeah. Who does he play in Indiana Jones? What is his name? Brody. So Brody, who is he Julian Sand's father?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Brody and his son.
I think their
George
relationship
Emerson.
is very sweet too.
It's very
sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that at the dinner they're like, oh, well, we have a view and we're cool with not using it because we're probably not going to be in the room anyway. So if you want to change, cool. And Maggie Smith is like,
well, I never.
Who's talking to you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so indelicate.
Yeah,
it's
indelicate.
So indelicate.
It would be so indelicate. And it's just so interesting how regimented society is. Right? Yeah. These are strangers. They're men. Like, yes, we're all at dinner having this, like, you know, all the residents, bed and breakfast style. We're all sitting down and talking and have this conversation, but it's overstepping a boundary.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's I think at that point he's already yelled across the room at the woman about indigestion.
Yeah.
Which is like so indelicate.
Ooh, yeah. Bodily functions? No.
For British 1908 society.
I love the woman who kind of runs the
Cockney Signora.
The Cockney Signora. Yes! I saw it in the title and I was like, the Cockney Signora. What is going on there? But yeah, she spoke perfect English with the, you know,
she's
with
an
accent,
expat.
But she also was like right there with the Italian.
She's in Triangle of Sadness. Is this
the Cockney Signora?
The old lady that picks up the grenade?
Well, she is alive and still married to the actor that plays Reverend Eager in this too.
Oh, get
Amanda
out of here.
Walker.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Amanda Walker. Yeah, maybe she might be the one that
she might. They still act. I think. They both still act.
That's funny. Yeah, the Cockney Signora was hilarious.
She is. She's the lady she's the old lady that picks up the grenade.
Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, iconic scene of that movie. That's funny.
How about that?
Mm-hmm. How about that?
But yeah, right away at the beginning of the movie, I was just like, "Oh, they're really going in with this room with the view. Like this is literal. It's
a big deal.
It's happening, and it is a big deal."
Yeah.
But I feel like we're, and again, I get that kind of chip on my shoulder about like, all right, these are rich people, just like, jet set. Well, not jet setting.
They can just get on their tramp steamers.
Yeah, just like traveling the world, not a care in the world, and all that. I mean, don't even get me started on Cecil. Doesn't have a job.
Oh yeah,
doesn't plan to have a job.
I have no profession.
Yes,
I just live off my money.
Yeah,
my wealth, wherever it came from.
Yeah.
Do they even talk about it? I don't know. No. But the thing is, Lucy is she's very endearing. She doesn't come off as a brat. Even in the whole room with the view situation, you can tell it's kind of like she is disappointed at first, but she's not the one that's like...
But she'll get over it, though. She's in Italy.
Charlotte, get me that room.
Yeah.
She's just like, all right.
She's just
here.
happy to be out and about.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Florence?
No, I've never been to Italy. I've only been to France.
I was in
Italy.
I was in Florence when I was 17 years old.
Oh, did you love it?
It was a brief stop from the tour on our tour bus. We were like in transit, probably going to Rome or something. And I remember it was pouring rain.
Oh, wow.
When they're in the courtyard with all of the statues, I remember it was very rainy when I was there. Mm-hmm.
My sister was there when she was 18, I think.
Yeah.
My community college did a semester abroad. I did not go.
Mm-hmm.
But
They went to Italy?
But I knew people who did.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Florence specifically. I've kind of heard, though, that there's like not so much... Like there's the Duomo...
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, but other than that, there's like not a lot of
the big
like,
courtyard.
stuff.
You want to go to Rome. You want to
Yeah.
go to...
I think it's usually meant as like a sort of, you're going from point A to point B and you'll stop in Florence.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you'll admire.
Yeah.
Il Duomo. And the Anor, I forgot what river they were supposed to have a view of, but...
the Arno.
The Arno.
The river,
Yeah. But, okay, so we meet... George Emerson.
George Emerson and his father, Mr. Emerson.
So how are we to describe George? Free spirit?
I would just I think of it as how Mr. Emerson, I don't know if he has a first name, at least in the movie, raised him. Because he raised him without any inhibitions raised him without shame is what he raised him without.
Yeah.
And so George...
Which would have been a big deal for this time, too.
Huge.
Yeah.
And also in the book, it's more explicit that they're socialists.
Oh, okay.
Which is a real departure from the rest of society. So
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of... You get the sense that they're not part of the regular society.
Right.
And George, I think he's just trying to... He keeps his head down somewhat going through life just because... if he doesn't, he knows it shocks people too much or something.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Very forward about his feelings for Lucy.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was giving her the eyes.
Oh, yeah. My first... Okay, like, we were talking about those little cameo vignettes in the artwork and the titles.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this looks like a certain type of environment, movie. But then when I saw him turn the plate around with the peas in the question mark, I thought, this is my movie. This is something different, and this is not going to be what I expected all the way through.
Sure. Yeah, it's not a stuffy...
It's not stuffy,
at all. And, so they have, like, just, like, beautiful, bucolic adventures in the countryside throughout Italy. So, all right.
Well, we probably got to talk about Eleanor Lavish, a novelist played by Judi Dench.
Yeah.
That this would have been a pretty big break for Judi Dench at the time. I don't know if she had done all that many movies.
No, she hadn't done a lot of
primarily
them.
The stage and a lot of British TV. But I love this character. She's kind of like the Carrie Bradshaw of Edwardian England. This novelist.
And I like when Cecil pronounces her name Eleanor Lavish.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what?
Eleanor Lavish? No wonder it's so bad.
But I also just love Charlotte and Eleanor talking to each other when they're doing their little picnic.
So girl-friendly.
And you can kind of just tell Judi Dench has zero time for Helena Bonham Carter. Like, you can just kind of tell. Like, I might be putting you in my next novel, but you can kind of tell, like, you are not a part of this adult conversation.
Right. She wants to just observe.
Yes.
Lucy.
But I love this character, though.
Yeah.
It's good to see Judi Dench and Maggie Smith kind of share the screen. That's great. It's look because like we know they have a real friendship that goes back very far.
Yeah.
You know, to even prior to this movie, and so it's just great to see them together. Pre Best Exotic Marigold.
Best Exotic Marigold, Tea with the Dames, but Tea with Mussolini. I believe that they're both in.
Okay. Yeah.
And for two such wildly different characters, for them to be friends is fun in this context.
Yeah. Okay. So there's like a lot of kind of stuff that goes on. I feel like this movie, it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which is not extraordinarily long. But a lot happens.
A lot.
In, like,
it's very
Italy,
rich.
And a lot happens
Yeah.
back in England. Because I'm trying to remember, like, all the things that happen. I know there's, like, the carriage and, like, the carriage drivers, like...
Oh, yeah.
Kind of, like, getting hot and heavy with the girlfriend.
Okay, first, the way that Italy, represents all this kind of, like, the passion and everything.
Right.
Oh, my God. Those people in Italy they cast are some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen on screen. Everything from the Phaeton, what they call him, and then his Persephone, the blonde woman.
Right.
I mean, they look like angels.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think Italian people are just pretty good looking.
Yeah.
Like from Italy. Yeah.
In fact, when I was watching it the other night, the little pop-up thing came up, and the names of the actors would come up.
Oh, sure.
The guy that gets murdered in the square.
Yeah.
Luigi Di Fiore. He's like still an actor. I looked him up. Oh, still a daddy. Okay.
All right. I was trying to place if I knew who he was.
Her fainting in the arms of Julian Sands after that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
She swoons.
She's
very swoon-worthy movie.
Julep.
Yeah.
But
which another weird thing is I caught like they say orgasm is le petit mort, the little death.
Right.
She has a little death.
He
catches her.
Yeah. Okay, so they do kind of have a little love scene. I mean, but like, okay, the whole like scene in the poppy field where they have their first encounter, their first kiss.
Is it a poppy field or is it more like wheat?
I think it's supposed to be a poppy field in the book.
I think it's a barley field, but there are poppies because we see the poppies amongst everything.
Oh,
sure.
Okay. Because the description says poppy fields. I'm just reading.
Oh yeah,
but I think it does kind of read a little bit more just like wheat or barley, but
I mean,
they're in there.
Summer Lovin'.
Yeah,
had me a blast.
And I love how they play it. You get the full romance of that moment, but then you get the bumbling thing with Charlotte. It's like they don't. The beats are so fast in that scene.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Helena kind of brings to it as just kind of a kooky person and a kooky actress, and I kind of love that even then she was able to kind of bring those kind of elements to this character. Because she's so good. God,
she's really good.
So good.
I mean, Julian Sands could ruin my life in this movie.
80s Julian Sands.
Oh my God.
Get the hell out of here.
Charismatic and so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I'm always attracted to really calm guys because I'm so I laugh all the time. And he like represents that, oh my God.
Sure.
I want to lose myself.
Yes. So, all right. My kind of big introduction to Julian Sands is the movie Warlock.
You love Warlock.
And Warlock is from 1989. It's with Laurie Singer, Julian Sands, and Richard E. Grant, right?
Wow.
And yeah. And Richard E. Grant and Julian Sands plays the titular Warlock. And somehow he makes his way to the 80s. But Richard E. Grant is from like ye old like witch days
where he belongs
and gets transported to the
him.
80s to go like it's very Terminator in that sense. It's actually kind of a Terminator ripoff, but like with witches. But it's not a great movie. Is what I'm saying. It's kind of corny.
Warlock was always one of those movies that I remember this either poster or cardboard cutout at the video store. It has one of those posters.
It's the big like shadow of
it's the big shadow.
The shadow is like the devilish.
Is that Julian in the?
That's because he's the warlock. So that's that's him. But
weird that I don't. That's not on my radar.
Yeah. So that was something that like I don't know. I just really caught it on cable and I just really loved it. But I just thought he was like so handsome.
Yeah.
But my sister was like, oh, she already been new because she was watching these. She was like, she's like, oh no, I'm renting Room with a View. And at that time, I was like, I'll watch the movie where he's a witch and he's like flying around like L.A. and Richard E. Grant is like stealing cars and stuff. Like, I'm watching that one. You can have your.
But how about the one where he's naked?
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Little did you know.
I didn't know. I was missing out. I'm watching this cheap Terminator knockoff. I could have been watching this one.
Gosh, Julian Sands also, I'm just going through his filmography.
Killing Fields.
He worked
Fields,
a lot.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm like
sure did.
scrolling, and he worked in so much film and TV.
Leaving Las Vegas. I remember seeing him. That was a disturbing little role.
Boxing Helena was very
I never saw
controversial
that.
at the time. I caught that one just because we were so kind of like caught up in all of the controversy of.
Was that a Lynch that directed it?
I want to say
Was it like Jennifer Lynch or something?
yes. It's Jennifer Lynch, but it was the whole thing of Kim Basinger getting pregnant and dropping out.
I
and
remember
they sued
that.
her and
Yeah.
all that. But then they brought in Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks, who we loved. My sister
Right.
and I were all about that. So we're like, Julian Sands and Sherilyn Fenn were both
There you
in.
go.
So yeah, but that movie's also fucking weird. So yeah, I was always like, okay, he makes interesting choices.
And there was also that era when movies wanted to be weird.
Right.
It was
yeah,
like that
yeah.
was the point.
Yeah.
a
For
lot,
for
yeah.
weirdness sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think just kind of the perceived stuffiness of a Merchant Ivory, kind of the name always kind of scared me off
Right.
of these. So if I had only known what I was in for, I probably would have watched this a lot.
And I'd always
earlier.
aspired to be like classy.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So I would go to them going, oh, actually, this is really fun. And I really like it, you know. I didn't have to pretend to like it.
Sure. No, see, that's the thing. I thought that I would get into I was into foreign movies because
Yes, me too.
on PBS here in LA, they would show these movies that were not American.
Oh, A Room with the View is definitely being programmed at like 10 o'clock on a Saturday.
On PBS, right? On public television.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about public television,
You could see some butts.
they showed the nudity.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I saw a play on PBS when I was a little kid, and there was Valerie Perrine was naked in Steenbeck.
Yeah.
It was on PBS.
I saw Echoist, the film.
Oh, my gosh.
On PBS.
Yeah.
Wieners flopping
Wiener.
around all
Definitely
over the
Tales
place.
of the City that has
Tales of the City
some gay sex in it.
Started
Yeah.
on PBS. Yeah,
That's right.
the first one was there. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I was going there for like, okay, I'm a film connoisseur, but really I'm just like 14 trying to see as much like full frontal.
I mean, I'd imagine that this
It's
was
still a worldview.
I mean, I would imagine that in the early days of VHS rentals at the video store, all of the gay teenagers were probably. I mean, this movie is a great cover, is because you could rent A Room with the View in the video store.
I'm writing a book
Clerks
report on it.
Aren't going
Right.
to give a shit about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Right.
Yep.
See, yeah, that's the thing. I couldn't rent Tales of the City with my parents.
Right.
Like, here, rent me this. They're like, what the
But
fuck?
anything E.M. Forster has his homosexuality somehow in the DNA.
Okay.
You
I
feel
was
it,
going to
you see
say
it.
is that you could almost argue most of the male
I was gonna
characters
say,
are possibly queer coded.
I was going to say,
Yes.
can we talk about Freddie?
Definitely the
Freddie. Oh my God, I love
the Freddie
me.
the Freddie character, the Cecil character played by Daniel Day-Lewis. Like
Daniel
all
Day-Lewis,
of
I get
these,
a vibe-
all of these
vibe.
characters, there's a little queer coding in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, I want to say I love the way that Helena Bonham Carter says Sissel. Sissel. I'm like Sissel.
Oh yeah, they met through Sissel. Sissel.
Sissel.
Right.
But yeah, definitely the Daniel Day-Lewis character. He's just so prissy.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost
And-
think he's going to take out a little handkerchief and just slap somebody with it.
Yeah.
And you definitely get this idea that he's not in love with her.
Right.
No.
This is
He's
status.
Stan.
It's all just
Yeah.
it's all just a society
It's
move.
a not
Yeah.
a convenience, but yeah, it's he's playing chess in society, and yeah, this is his move.
That monologue when George says he can't know anyone, least of all a woman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he wants it, and it's such a gay infatuation thing. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like, I love Judy and Barbara. It's like that. The style of her.
Right,
He even says it.
right.
And I mean,
Use it.
Helena Bonham Carter is, like we mentioned, a kooky individual. We find her beautiful, but we're also
too.
gay men.
Right.
That we find
Right.
we love just kind of unusual looking women too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, although I think objectively she's pretty gorgeous.
When she
here.
conventions herself out, she looks gorgeous in that sense, I think.
Yeah.
But she generally, we just love her panoramic cheekbones and her big eyes.
All of the kooky red carpet styling for her.
The wacky hair.
Yeah. I do have to say though, in which Elizabeth Taylor movie did she do? Some of the styling
She did a BBC version.
The
I
Dick
think
and Liz one, Richard or whatever.
Yeah. She
Liz and Dick.
Yeah, and such interesting casting because you don't immediately think of Elizabeth Taylor.
But I don't know, some of the styling they put her in, and
but
her
there's something
huge
with the
eyes, and
eyes.
just the hair.
Yes,
when they put those contacts in her.
Yeah, did they give her a lavender contact? I hope so.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely Cecil is giving a little Nelly.
He's definitely, and he's never going to realize it.
Right.
He's like
especially at this time.
He's like the Hugh Grant character in in Morris. In Morris, it's kind of like that.
Sure.
So it's Morris and not Maurice.
They say Morris.
They say Morris.
Morris.
Yeah,
Okay.
Morris.
That's how British people say it.
Yeah, agreed. But also, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Lucy's brother Freddie, whose
screen debut of Rupert Graves.
Rupert Graves, so
love
cute.
Rupert Graves.
But
He's so cute.
What do I know Rupert Graves from? I feel like I know that name.
You would know Rupert Graves from the Sherlock
Damaged
TV series.
Yes. Oh, he's on Sherlock? Right. Okay, all right.
He was in Death at a Funeral, the original.
I saw that. Okay. Madness of King George. Oh, he's in Morris.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the groundskeeper.
Is Maurice
Scudder?
Is Morris after
87?
Morris is after.
87. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was reading that Rupert Everett was considered for this role.
Right.
Of Freddie, or
he was
auditioned for Threat.
Just kind of
auditioned
for
Freddie, and then what was he considered for Cecil also, or something?
That's what I had read somewhere in the production,
which
notes.
I can see.
I could see him being brought in to read for both.
Yeah. At that time.
Okay, but I do love just the character of Freddie. I'm assuming he maybe is he younger than
I
Lucy?
take it that it's
Is he
Lucy's
older
younger brother. I think it's her younger brother.
I think so, because I think like his friend Mr. Floyd, I think they're school chums, like they're still in school or something.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Floyd also
sense.
cute.
Yes.
when he invites George to go take a bath in the river.
Have a bath.
Get out of here.
He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Let's go take a dip.
Let's go get naked." Yeah,
I can't think like at that time. Does that happen? Do people do that, or is this a thing? What is this?
Yeah. But I mean, immediately, like we were saying, they set up this relationship that he has with the sister, with his mother. Mm-hmm. They're very playful with each other.
They just hang out in the drawing room. And he plays piano, and like they just muddle around like a real family. To me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like when you see him and her, there's that point when he's naked and they're like he's covering in the bush.
Yeah.
And she and him are looking at each other both kind of laughing.
Yeah.
Like a brother and sister.
Yeah.
Like,
She's laughing. She's like, "Oh my
They're
god,
kids.
you fucking idiot." Yeah. And then they're just like, I believe it is the Reverend Beeb's niece.
Yeah, Minnie.
Little Minnie. Yeah.
Minnie Beeb.
Just playing tetherball.
Yeah.
They're just hanging out, just playing tetherball on the lawn, just like, all right. And yeah, he's like shoving
They
her.
keep torturing her.
Yeah.
They'll strangle Minnie.
Yeah, but I love this family that we see, and for such a kind of uptight era, it's unexpected, and it's kind of refreshing that it's like, okay, this isn't that movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh my God, everybody is just so like buttoned down. At least these people are a little bit, they're having some fun with their lives.
It makes the problems with the class thing more pronounced.
Yeah.
To see it against people who are acting like people you'd want to hang out with.
And the first time we do see Cecil, and he's just like, he comes in, and I forget what he says, but like the mother and Freddie are just like, what the hell did he just say?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, she said yes. Like I just asked you
Yes.
to get engaged, and she agreed. And they're like, oh, that's what you
Yeah.
said. That's what you meant. They both look at each other like, what's up with this guy?
And at some point, Mr. Beebe says something, solemn to them about marriage or something, and then you hear the mom say, "How dare you to be so serious?" Like that's what she says to her buddy, the Reverend.
Yeah. And at first, I was kind of like, okay, I think the mom's into it. I think the mom likes this guy,
Right.
even though he's a little kind of a weirdo. But like as time goes on, she's just like, oh my god, all
This
he
one
does is like,
I think she spends more time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, which is kind of refreshing for other books and movies like this. That usually it's the other way around. Of you can't break up with this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the right guy.
This is the right guy.
Good family.
If anything, they're like need help packing.
Yeah. It's not the Titanic situation of like,
Yeah.
you will marry this guy,
Right.
even though he's
Right.
like beating you up.
Yeah.
No, she's just like,
They're
this-
like showing him the
not
door
this one. Yeah,
when she
yeah.
breaks that off.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But his mom's house, oh my God. That is the most gorgeous settings I've ever seen. Mrs. Vi's well-appointed flat. It's just stunning.
The well appointed.
It even says at the chapter.
Yeah, I love that. This is
So
my well appointed
gorgeous.
flat. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, so I feel like all that stuff is just super charming with the characterization, because it was something that I wasn't kind of sure how it was going to go with the characters, and so I was like, all right, this is great. But it is interesting that I do feel like Daniel Day-Lewis is going for kind of this comedic performance, but
You know what I was kind of thinking? I was kind of thinking of what would Cecil's social media account be like? Like, is this guy just unbearable if he had a Twitter or an Instagram account?
of course he is.
It's like that era and that class version of Sacality Barbie. It's really just self-involved.
Yeah.
And because he thinks he's got a lock on like human nature, but he
Yeah.
really knows nothing about it.
Yeah. Well, okay, I did kind of like, all right, I got kind of they got me, Gal, when she was like, all right, this dude across the street has got this house and he needs people to rent.
She
there.
wants to invite the aunts.
So we're going to invite the old
our
spinsters.
Yeah.
fun, kooky spinster aunts.
Yeah. The Miss Allens.
Miss Allens.
The Miss
I
Allens.
love them. My sisters call themselves the Miss Allens.
Fabia Drake and Joan Henley
Yeah.
were both born in 1904.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they would be a spry 120
Yeah.
today. Yeah, because I was like, this is 1986 and they look old. And it wasn't like people look old in the back then, but they were actually 30.
But they were old.
But they actually were old.
Yeah.
They were in their
84.
80s at that
Yeah.
time. But they were cute characters, and I was like,
Yes.
yeah, why shouldn't the Miss Allens come and live there? But it was kind of serendipitous that
So Cecil ends up striking up a conversation with the Emersons somewhere.
At the National Gallery.
At the National Gallery, and he invites them
to live there.
to live there.
Yeah. Yeah, as a way to, because he just thinks Sir Harry, the landlord.
Yeah.
He just thinks, he thinks he's so open-minded. Well, I'll show him. I'll just have him rent to these socialists and
these
it's like all a mean-spirited thing.
Yeah.
Really.
That's right. He does it kind of like as a kind of
It
a
makes total
FU.
sense when you
Yeah.
said that they're socialists in the book.
Yeah.
That they would kind of be this like pariah or
fringe
outsider for the rich in London.
Yeah.
That's probably why they don't have a place to live.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. There's a whole...
Nobody wants to rent them a flat in London, I guess.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I never thought about why don't they have a place to live.
Yeah.
You're right.
But it kind of starts off a little rift with Lucy just like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Like you saw me trying to arrange this thing.
Yeah.
This whole time. You go and do this right under me. And like she's kind of tells him like, I'm kind of pissed that you did that.
I love the way she says that line. I probably met them before, and it's like such a real, like it sounds good to be now.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
She's very
She's
real.
like, oh shit, I might know these people.
Yeah.
What if I hated them?
I know. Disloyal of you.
Yeah.
I love that she scolds
disloyalty.
him.
Yeah.
She's so strong.
Yeah. He assumes Harry will find the Emersons too common.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's very sweet that George and Freddie just immediately hit it off. Too.
Yeah. Strike up this friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's we're talking about like maybe possibly queer coded characters.
Yeah.
And I think the idea though is that Freddie is younger, probably still in school, probably a teenager, and I would assume at that time that the sexes were separated in school.
Sure. Yeah. So men were just closer with each other.
Boys just hung out with boys and wanted to hang out. He's friends with Lucy because that's his sister.
You wouldn't have thought twice about taking off all of your clothes and jumping in the river.
Yeah. Exactly. It's very Tom Sawyer-ish or something like that.
Yeah. So he's just like, cool, a new friend.
Yeah.
Like, and he lives across the street.
Yeah.
Great. So when Mr. Beebe takes him over, or Mr. Reverend Beebe takes him to meet him, and they're just like, all right, let's go do this.
Yeah.
But it's not. But like you said, they strike up a friendship immediately. He invites him over to play tennis. Mm-hmm. They're like playing tennis.
And Freddie adores him. I like the way when he's dancing with Lucy in the hallways. George Emerson's absolutely ripping.
Yeah,
takes after him like a brother.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like that's what I'm saying about like, okay, contextually. Probably he's just like sweet, another guy. Yeah. Like I'm gonna be best friends with him, but also in the like queer coded portions of it, we're like, well, he really likes.
Yeah, on one level,
really likes
it all makes sense. On another level, with the whole E.M. Forster thing, it's like, okay, I see what there's a layer of something.
Yeah.
Have you read the book?
I read the book. Yeah.
Okay,
I read the book a couple months ago.
Oh, so fairly recently.
It's fairly fresh.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we're watching them play tennis, and I was like, they're just playing tennis on the grass.
Yeah.
I guess you just did that at some point.
I mean, they couldn't have had a paved
Does the ball bounce on grass?
Yeah, I was like,
I don't even know.
And what are the balls made? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, how?
I don't know. I love it when it hits Cecil in the face.
Yeah. But you see, like I see now on BuzzFeed all these articles of like historic pictures of like the Olympics and these women that look like them.
Yeah.
Doing like archery and stuff,
wearing clothes.
Yeah, wearing full on outfits,
full on to do anthropology outfits.
Yeah, to do things like archery and all. Yeah. And you're like, whoa, that is wild. Yeah. But that's how they be doing things back then. I don't think they didn't get their tennis balls in those Pringles canisters. Back in the Edwardian England,
and the wicker furniture that's like outside. I just love it all.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I would have expected it to be like badminton or something,
right?
The shuttlecock.
Yeah.
like Disney's Robin Hood, but no, they're playing tennis. They're
playing
like
their version of tennis.
Yeah,
they have a tennis court.
Yeah. And they have a tennis court. And I love that George Emerson just like he never walks around a tennis net.
Oh my God! There's that one point when he jumps over
to walk
I
around.
Could never, like, even if I were taller, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Do not ask him to walk around.
Yeah.
He will make a reason to walk through and hop.
So the author of this book was gay.
Yes, Ian Forster.
Yeah.
So Morris, he wrote later in his career.
Yeah, but it wasn't published till after he died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he wanted it that way.
Okay. All right.
Sure. I was going to say it makes sense that Morris kind of was the later half of his life.
Yeah.
That he felt like he could write about the gay shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he wrote kind of around it earlier, and then he wrote it.
Yeah.
With a happy ending, with characters that find love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think it's at the tennis game that Cecil has Eleanor's new book.
Oh yeah.
And he's reading aloud.
Yeah.
Just to kind of be a jerk.
I mean, they're kind of mocking it. I mean, they're kind of mocking it because they immediately know, this one. Like, let's just read passages of this book and just make fun of it.
Yeah.
And
Under
guess who,
Elogia.
And guess who shows up?
But this is when he reads a passage, and Lucy's like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
oh shit."
And George's face, it breaks my heart when he's reading it, and George's face looks so longing. Ah!
But you know what though? When she's like, "We'll be right back."
Yeah.
I gotta go have a little chat with somebody really quick.
But and they excuse themselves, and he grabs her under that like awning and just plants one on her. I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
I was like, "Girl, you better watch what you're doing." But
for a split second, she gives in.
Yes.
And yes, so great.
But also, I'm like, well, what's Cecil going to do even if he does see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, then he just walks by like the way
Yeah.
he's framed in that walking by. It's like total cuck. He's
Oh,
just like
God.
they're just making fun of him. He's
Yeah.
just reading his book.
Reading the book. That was after what is happening when Lucy's walking outside and there's a book on the ground?
I think that section starts with that.
Okay, yeah.
Who's been leaving books out to spoil?
That
I love
shit
that.
was so
Like, why is there a book just on the ground?
Yeah. They're just walking by like, done with this one.
Yeah.
Throw it over their shoulder.
And you know Cecil did it.
Yeah. They've got the help.
Yeah.
Okay. When Cousin Charlotte comes back to... Okay, first of all, when they get the letter and from Charlotte, and the mother's reading the letter, and she's just like, oh, my God. It was fully giving Saltburn of poor...
Sure.
Oh, yeah. right. I forget the Carrie Mulligan.
Yeah, Rosamund Pike just like, this one, her entire life is just like a tragedy.
She's just a mess.
She's a mess.
Gail on Bob, what's it called? Bob's Burgers.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
You know, making Molly.
Poor dear Pamela.
Poor dear Pamela.
Yeah, I was just like poor Aunt Charlotte.
I was getting poor dear Pamela from poor Aunt Charlotte or poor cousin Charlotte.
Yeah.
When she comes to town. So what's the situation? Like, did she get off at the wrong? She got off too early, and she needed to take a cab.
Off at the wrong station.
And so
I love all of the business with them paying for this
all
cab.
the business paying for the
because
damn
she's
cab.
going to say, "Oh no, I'll get it," but it's not like she's reaching for her pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Until Minnie says
she has everybody just pull out the change in all of their pockets.
But until little Minnie calls her out on it, that she's like, okay. Then she grabs her purse. But before that, Freddie already paid.
Yeah.
And then but I also love the thing that there was the weird little bit of change that they couldn't break.
Yeah.
And Cecil's like, "Oh, I'll take it. Freddie owes me money anyway."
Right.
And he takes Charlotte's money. I'm like, oh my God.
And I'm wondering what he would owe him money for.
Yeah,
it's really odd.
Yeah. What does Freddie owe him for anyway?
And I love that it gives a chance for us to see her yell for the maid to break change, like a person. It's like, Mary, do you have any change? Just like
I loved it.
Normal.
I love
Totally.
the fact that she was like, everybody just shut up. Give me this, and I'm gonna go take care of this. She's like, all of you, shut it.
Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm gonna get your change, and we're gonna start from the beginning. And she goes inside. She's like, Mary, I need change.
Yeah,
like, and like head maid Katie Nana comes down.
Yeah,
and is just like, all right, what do you got?
Yeah,
she's got her like little like
I know.
bus driver like
little
change thing. But all the stuff too with like. And the shilling and the this and the bob and all that.
And I wish I knew British money better so I could follow the math.
Yeah.
Pences and
bob
like,
to the driver.
Yeah. I was like, what?
Because they all mean the same thing, but they're all different.
Right. Yeah. I was trying to follow that along too.
Sovereign.
Like, right. Sovereigns and how many sovereigns equal a shilling and all of that. I love that. But I thought all of that stuff was super charming, super funny.
Mm-hmm.
Just very little slice of lifey kind of stuff. Yeah. And they all played it like so well.
And that's why I always, when you were talking about like who do you relate to, I always relate to Aunt Charlotte. Because because I did find I do have love in my life, but I always find myself in like where I'm kind of a fool. Like I forgot to bring my wallet, or it's all that stuff always happens.
Yeah, I got off on the wrong stop, and then I had to take an Uber, and now I'm here. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Exactly.
And now I made it. Everybody's waiting.
Couldn't find the entrance, blah, blah, blah.
Where are we
that scene with Aunt Charlotte when they're having their little picnic with Dame Judi Dench, and Judi Dench lays down like the The little blankets to sit
The
on.
Macintosh squares.
The Macintosh squares, and Aunt Charlotte's like immediately like, oh well, no, like you have this, like Lucy,
Yes.
like you can sit down on it. And then Lucy's like, I'm just gonna go over here, and she's like, oh, by all means,
Yes. Yeah. No, I'll sit on the damp ground. It won't bother my rheumatism at all. Something like that. She's just so passive aggressive.
All the talk of the rheumatiz and all
Yeah.
that.
What
I love
exactly?
old-timey.
What exactly is rheumatism?
I love old timey.
Can you explain that to me? What is rheumatism?
I know my sister has it.
I always know it from.
People still have it?
that
It's like
line.
affected by moist weather.
I know it
Sure.
just from The Sound of Music when
Okay, yeah.
Julie Andrews
it's
sits-
joints. It's a joint thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
When Julie Andrews is going to sit on the pine cone, and she says rheumatism.
Rheumatism. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's it's
One
a joint thing.
One
and
of those old timey things that there's probably a different word for it now.
Yeah.
and I think it's also that thing of like they know when it's going to rain.
Yeah.
like
When
my
it like the
my
weather
knee's gonna
changes, my
act
sister's
up,
knee hurts or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
all that. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and that's part of the rheumatiz. Just old timey diseases. Yeah, I love all that stuff. I love very Grandpa Simpson.
Lumbago.
Like, yeah. It's like Legionnaire's disease
Gout.
and like dropsy. Yeah,
Yeah, dropsy.
Things that we should maybe are cured. I don't know.
Or we just call them something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. Lucy's just like, all right, dude, this isn't, we can't do this. Like, can't happen. I know that you're all, still head over heels, but she's still just like, I'm going to marry this guy.
Yeah.
But I love that he just tells her, like, he doesn't love you.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks of you as a possession.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how Charlotte, in the corner of that drawing room, you see that she realizes he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart right there. That's when I
And
see her
there's
change.
a quality
Yeah,
about
she's
when
like, oh,
Charlotte
shit.
looks at this character, this guy, you kind of see a little bit of jealousy. Did she have somebody like this in her life
so.
that
I think so.
she
Yeah.
didn't she rejected
Yeah.
their advances and she regrets it to this day.
And then nothing ever happened.
and nothing
for her
ever happened for her. Yeah.
in the way.
Maybe.
that- yeah. I think I think you're right there. That's what I get that.
Yeah. But George, he does it. He leaves. He's like,
Yeah.
he tells the dad, like, we got to get the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't going to work. She's going to get married. So
Yeah.
he doesn't, like, try and stay. I don't know. I feel like a modern movie that would be, he would just still try and, like, break
He'd
the
hold
ball or
his
something.
boombox
Yeah.
out in front of him. That's so obnoxious. I
Yeah,
hate that
yeah.
kind of shit.
But he's
yeah.
just like, all right, no, she said get the hell out. She's going to marry this guy.
Yeah.
So,
And his dad is crushed right along with him.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
So what's kind of the final straw with Lucy and Cecil then?
Because he would play tennis.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the symptom.
I mean,
Yeah,
but also
yeah.
that's
Symptom.
also
Yeah.
very true to life. Is
Yeah.
that it's just kind of these little
that was
moments
the
that
last thing.
these little moments that Lucy was just like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think this is working.
And him too. He's not like, no, you will marry me.
Right.
He's
And
just
something
like-
that's very, I mean, I would take it for novels like this, kind of fresh and very realistic.
Yeah.
Of that, this is how people behave in relationships. Too.
Yes.
That I mean, there's no parents forcing a relationship. She's not like she doesn't have to marry this guy.
Right.
Too. So it's kind of Lucy's decision in the long run.
Yeah.
Because she also says at one point, she's talking to the mother, and the mom's like, she says something just like, oh, you have a lot of opinions lately. And she's just like, well, I'm going to be coming into my money pretty soon.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is such a blow.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm going to be independent.
Yeah.
You know?
So clearly they have their own money. So
Yes.
like you said, this isn't
like a trust,
This isn't
yeah.
a convenience of you need to marry this guy or else we're going to lose Pooh Corner.
Right.
Like
Right. I mean, he might have more money, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they're okay.
I think they're fine. Yeah.
I mean, also Lucy as a character too. I mean, she's like a asshole kid that travels the world. too. That she doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not like
Right.
she has a work or she has a job.
But she's thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Thinking about,
She's thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I take it that stuff like university for women, it was very limited options, even if you were from money at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's still traveling the world. She doesn't have a care in the world. She plans that trip to Greece in pretty much a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I just have to go. I have to go. Yeah.
So she's like, all right, since I kind of like messed things up with, or things got messed up with the Mrs. Allens,
Right.
like we'll go to Greece. I'll go to Greece with them. That'll be fun. Get my mind off things. Get my mind off Sissel. Get my mind off, George. Let's get the hell out of here.
I want to say one more thing about Sissel. I find that scene when she breaks up with him, breaks off the engagement. He is at his most vulnerable and most human, and it's so heartbreaking to me. He's got his shoes off, so he's already vulnerable in a physical sense.
Yeah.
And then when he has his glasses off,
yeah.
And then when he says, "Forgive me if I say stupid things, my brain has gone to pieces," I think, I feel bad for him.
Sure.
Because he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. Oh, it's so human.
Yeah, totally. But that's the thing too. Like, to him, it's out of nowhere, and it kind of is out of nowhere.
Right.
But really, this entire time, there was never any real love between the two of them. So
he thought there was.
He may have thought there was, but so he was kind of out of touch with the whole thing. But it is when you do see somebody, even someone like that, when you do see them in a vulnerable state, you're just like, oh man, that sucks.
So,
but real quick before you say that, the thing is, we don't see him again the rest of the movie.
No.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He leaves and bye, Daniel Day-Lewis.
So, do you know what I was thinking about of just how this love story is structured? Is it's almost like a modern romantic comedy, like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Is that like the main protagonist, your heroine, is going to leave town? Like she's gonna leave. She thinks that she fucked it up with the guy that she's in love with. So she's gonna get on the next plane and leave the city. Yeah. And this whole thing with the coach of that she's going off to the train. And then who kind of intercepts it?
It's like the running to the airport.
It's Maggie Smith kind of somehow arranges this meeting.
All that business of getting in and out of the carriage and jumping on, stop the carriage and pull. And
we want to
take the top down.
We want to take the top down. But it's it's conventions that you would see in a modern romantic comedy, and I take it that it's kind of the origins of cliches like that.
I think all those old that romantic literature, like Jane Austen and Ian Forster. I think it all starts.
It's kind of,
or maybe they got it from somewhere. But
yeah. But I just think that's just kind of funny. Is these like little plot points that cinema has just recycled to death.
Yes.
This is kind of the origin of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then, because we have that final, like we said, there's all the like farcical business of Charlotte getting in at the coach and, sitting on the wrong side and sit over here with me. And you don't like it when you sit with your back.
Facing.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff. But while all that's going on, Lucy is now inside talking to George's father, Mr. Emerson.
Love that scene.
Yeah. And he's kind of laying it out for her. Like, oh no, like
George never told me anything.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah. No, and it's a great scene. And the interesting thing that Scott was saying is that this movie had quite a few Academy Award nominations, but the two acting nominations were Denham Elliott, Mr. Emerson for supporting actor, and Maggie Smith as Aunt Charlotte for supporting actress.
Yeah.
I was reading that Daniel Day-Lewis apparently refused to campaign in supporting. So it's speculated that they kind of subbed in Mr. Emerson as kind of the supporting push. Imagine that Helena Bonham Carter could have been close to lead, but so this was also at a time where I think that the ingenue, primarily in kind of 80s movies, you usually didn't see them nominated.
And she was fairly green in the industry.
Brand new.
I don't think they would have.
Yeah. But you kind of see in that last scene with the two of them together.
That's going to be the supporting
Mr.
actor
Emerson.
clip.
That's his clip. Yeah,
he's so beautiful in that scene.
Yeah,
how he changes when she says that they're not, or when he learns.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, what a career!
Not married anymore? Denham Elliott?
Yeah.
Oh, did
both Indiana Jones movies, A Room with a View. I forget that he's in Trading Places.
Oh yeah. Talking of careers, Scott, I know you like to play this game. And I know it's kind of a weird spot in the episode.
That's okay.
But I did notice Helena Bonham Carter's
Does she have an interesting Does she have an interesting
most known for?
Okay,
the reason that I thought it was interesting is that there's no Harry Potter.
There's no
And
Harry
that's
Potter.
That's why we like to play this. So, are you familiar with IMDb top 4?
Top 4?
Like on everybody's,
yes.
on your most known for.
I am familiar.
The first 4 are supposed to be what they're most known
Right.
for, and then everything else isn't chronological. So we always don't like to do it if there's like Marvel, Potter, stuff like that, because that's always a fake out. And so she doesn't have any Potter in this. So it's just 4 movies that are supposedly her most known for.
I'm going to say Fight Club. I'm going to say Fight Club is there. Marla Singer has to be there.
Yeah.
And you are correct. Fight Club is there.
Room with a View is there?
It is not.
Room with a View is not there. Okay. Wings of the Dove?
No.
Okay, so no Oscar nomination. Is The King's Speech there?
Yes.
Oh,
The King's
no
Speech
Oscar
is
nominated for
there.
The King's
Yeah.
Speech.
So
So,
that's
so how many do we have? 2?
That's 2.
You
Fight
know,
Club and King's Speech, and those are the bottom
I'm going to
2.
say this is kind of a deep pull of her filmography. You usually don't think of her in this movie, but it's one of those weird movies that I bet it shows up for. Is Les Mis there?
It is. Les Mis is there.
Her scenes in Les Mis are really fun.
But is that something that is that in there for a lot of people? Like,
maybe.
Is the whole thing is that it's what she's most known for?
It's the mysterious
Theoretically,
IMDb algorithm
we don't know.
that just shows up. I don't know. It's
so
maybe
like Cinderella.
It's maybe what people.
No,
it's Cinderella's not
Okay,
there.
so there has to be a 4th.
Okay, Les Mis is on Anne Hathaway and Amanda Seyfried's most known for.
It is?
And it's
Okay.
And it's also on Russell Crowe.
Is it on Hughes?
And it's on Hughes. So that's one.
It's probably one of those weird ones that it just comes
for
up
some
for
reason.
everybody.
It's on everybody
because that movie's just so stacked and it got that many Oscar
And
nominations.
yeah, you're right. She's kind of buried in that cast. So we got Les Mis, Fight Club, King's Speech,
The Corpse Bride.
We got
I
one
don't-
more.
I bet that it is another. Oh, I bet it's Mrs. Lovett for Sweeney Todd.
Oh.
It is Sweeney Todd. You got all 4 of them.
You know,
Wow.
I did a little rewatch.
You had a couple wrong,
when we were
but-
when we were staying
We
in
got-
London. That I watched some scenes of Sweeney Todd.
You love Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd.
I love Sweeney Todd, and
Yeah.
I think that she's really fun in it too. And it's one of those castings of that musical theater snobs will say that they hate that performance. I think she's really fun in it. I think she's great. I would have nominated her.
there.
I would have nominated her for the Oscar top 5.
I think
in
Mrs. Lovett
2007.
is a crazy character, so it stands to reason that you throw in somebody cool and funky like that. And I think her singing voice is maybe she's not doing
Character voice.
6 days a week and twice
Yeah.
on Sundays, but
Right.
you know, for the movie,
character voice.
yeah, it works. Johnny Depp too. I feel like maybe his singing voice is not the strongest, but I think for Tim Burton doing a Sweeney Todd, doing a Sondheim,
I liked Sacha Baron Cohen in it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I thought he
that's
was
a
really
fun
good.
scene.
yeah, totally. So
There's a Helena movie that I
Little
love
Priest.
that a lot of people don't know. Conversations with Other Women.
Oh, I've seen that one. The one that's done in the one that's done in
that.
split screen.
Yeah.
with her and Aaron
Aaron
Eckhart.
Eckhart.
Yeah,
I
I've seen
love that movie. They're both so good.
Yeah.
They're both so real.
oh, I'm not familiar with that. She's in both of the Enola Holmes on Netflix,
And I loved Nolly. That just came out.
Oh, wait,
Which one?
Nolly.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, the PBS miniseries. I think is it nominated or is she
No.
nominated for an Emmy?
Interesting. I'll have to check.
Oh,
that
check it out.
I'm
It's
not-
wonderful.
yeah.
Augustus Prue
From
plays
the
her like buddy. in it.
award-winning team behind It's a Sin. We loved It's a Sin.
Yeah.
All of
Okay,
her
Russell T Davies.
It's
Oh,
terrific.
Okay. All of her
Check it out. She's wonderful.
all of her very special Margaret episodes of The Crown are always my favorite.
Oh
Yes.
we love. Her.
Oh, the scene where she
Yeah.
freaks out when she finds out about the cousins. Oh my god.
She,
Oh, my
I
God,
love that.
that
episode.
episode.
I remember, like,
Woo.
I just like burst into tears.
That was
That
a
episode.
tough
It was so
one.
good.
Yeah.
But there's something about how Helena plays Margaret of that classism of the royals of quit talking. Like, why are you talking?
Yeah.
Just that, like know your place. Like this shit is weird, but
Yeah.
it's been like this for hundreds of years.
Yeah, Helen Bonham Carter to me has like high class or posh in her, and it's
Well,
hard to get out of it.
I was gonna say,
But she can play all different colors of posh. You know, she's she finds those different strata.
yeah, because she is like
I believe she is
really posh. Yeah. Like she's got like she's like in line for the throne somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, is it like is it like a Tilda Swinton thing that she's
got it. Like,
she's from money?
Her family has titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're landed or something.
Yeah, something like peerage, some sort of peerage.
She's got 3 names. I mean,
right? Yeah, exactly. I think the Bonham Carter is like, yeah, they're
She's in line for the throne somewhere.
Somewhere. I mean, aren't we all? Like, I think at some point, we've all got it. But
mine's
she's
like a Barca lounge.
But she's really close. Yeah, and there's some sort of like the Bonham Carter family has a Wikipedia page.
Wow,
that's not just her. It's like they've got their.
Well,
whole,
look at that.
Yeah, antecedents, and I don't know.
Wow.
So yeah, so there's a portrait of Violet Bonham Carter, the Baroness Asquith of Yarnbury.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, look at her.
And she plays classical piano, I believe.
Okay,
she speaks
all right.
French.
Yeah.
She's got all the finishing school kind of touches.
Yeah, work. Good for her.
She's kind of like two sides of a coin. It's Helena Bonham Carter and Tilda Swinton.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of both of these kooky actors, one from Scotland and the other one from England.
Well, I feel like when you have the ability to focus on a career in the arts.
To focus on the arts, yeah.
And if you've got the talent, which she clearly does, like after all these years, she's still working. So,
well, what I read on
not just the name
Wikipedia, but then also on some other source was that she got into acting by she won a writing contest and she used the fees to pay for a spot in the actors directory.
Oh, okay.
And, like that's how she started getting cast. So she like invested her own funds.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
right.
who knows what she was.
I misspoke earlier. I thought Tilda Swinton was from Scotland.
Where is she?
She was born in London.
I thought she was Scottish.
I thought that she was Scottish too.
Scottish too.
Okay, so she was born into a Scottish family.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, she was born in London, so I was
because she wears kilts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess Helena, much like Lucy, she was able to use her own wealth to to fund her
she found her
career.
way. Yeah.
So, all right. So, I mean, the whole thing about this love story with Lucy and George, after, we have our big scene of, we find out that she's not married anymore, and she has her big scene with Mr. Bartlett or not Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Emerson, and all of that. And so Lucy and George finally get together, and the movie ends where it began.
Yeah.
Back at what do they call this place?
A pensione.
A pensione.
Pensione Bartolini.
Pensione, yeah. And in the room with the view.
Yeah. A beautiful view.
Yeah, it's the poster of the movie.
Yeah.
But I love the very quick little scene where she's just like, all the same characters are here.
Yeah.
There's even a Lucy and
Lucy.
cousin Charlotte.
Yep.
And they're mad about not having that damn view. And I just thought that was so cute that she kind of said, like, there's a 1-to-1 for everybody. So I would imagine if you look at the table and pause it, you can and there's, there's the Reverend Mr. Beebe, and there's,
I love that old-timey
Dench.
convention of traveling with your aunt. I would have loved
travels with my aunt.
I would have loved to travel with my favorite aunt.
Well, that also gave me Little Women as well. That was just like going with that March to Paris and all of that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And there's that telling scene where the mom says, "Gosh, you're so much like Charlotte Bartlett."
Yeah.
No, I'm not. You never used to be. It's so weird. Then there's a whole life that the mom, as I think her sister, knows, sees that trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just love the way this movie ends. I love that they're together and it's just right in that damn window,
which scares me a little bit because I'm afraid of heights. I don't know where they're sitting.
And also, I think that Helena says on the Criterion supplements
they're hanging out that window.
They're pretty much like
sitting
on the edge of that window, and they kind of mocked up a wooden frame to frame it, so they kind of. They are quite literally sitting on the edge, right?
Yeah.
Right
like
next to that,
construction worker on a girder.
Yeah.
They're just sitting.
They're sitting on the edge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No screen, no nothing. This goes all the way back to the beginning of the movie, but I just really loved when they finally do get the room, and it's nighttime, and Charlotte's like, well, go to bed. It's nighttime. And she's like, and she's just kind of wandering around, and she just like opens the window, and she's just like, get away from the window. People can see you.
You can be seen from the outside.
Seen,
that is so hilarious to me. Oh my gosh. They might see your hair down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because her hair was down. Yeah. And just in a dressing gown.
Yeah.
You know, not in like her formal clothing and all that. But there they are, just like making it he's like motorboating her in that window.
Oh, I know. I love that. That's like one of the last things you see.
Because this is a long shot. It's a long, and it's a slow, like pull out or push in. I don't remember which one, but it's a really long, no cut, and so the director's probably just like, all right, go for it, make out, and and he does.
And anytime her hair is down, she looks ravishing.
Yeah, so
she is incredible.
Yeah, love it. All that, her hair is just so thick and curly and just like everywhere, and I'm just
sensual.
Man, she's great.
Yeah,
I love her. This movie's a lot of fun. It's not what I expected.
Right.
Yeah.
And what did you expect going into it? You're just kind of thinking of stuffy period drama.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to be as like charming or relatable. I feel like they really kind of made it so that yes, it is firmly within its period, but also I guess it's just baked into the source material that it is relatable to modern audiences. Yeah. And the actors are just so good that they're funny when they need to be funny. They're poignant when they need to be poignant. You know, it's just all the emotions are there.
It's like when I read Shakespeare, I don't quite understand it, but if it's acted well, I know exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, got a decent number of Oscar nominations. It was in Best Picture and Best Director.
I have my ex, who's actually still a very good friend of mine, but on our first date, I was so crazy about this movie to ask everybody what they thought of it. And he said, it's just I thought it was boring, just about like rich white people. And I thought, I think I'm in love with this guy, but I don't think it'll last long. Because I knew that unless somebody's worldview intersected with mine, to have at least this and or I think at the time it was like Hannah and Her Sisters or Choose Me. One of those three. One of those three had to intersect.
It's the Rufino's like litmus test.
It's the that we see the world differently.
Because that was my fear.
You knew it wasn't going to work.
I knew it was going to work. I loved him. I still do.
Yeah. But that was my fear at the beginning, that I was going to have this chip on my shoulder, rich white people problems situation. And well, I mean, it is that.
It is that. Yeah.
It is that. But I think, like I said before, it's just so layered and well acted that, like you said, the performances are so good that it pulls you out of where are we? What year is it?
Yeah.
You know, like all that. You just are like, you get these people, you understand them, and they're written from a place that they're not conventional stuffy rich people. Purposely, you know, like we said, they're like fun-loving bohemian weirdos, or a couple of socialists, you know, on the run trying to find somewhere to live, you know, kind of a thing. So, to me, that broke it down and made it become accessible, you know, for someone who would immedially come in.
I love it when the mom is talking about like, oh, the people you met at that trip. Wasn't there a free-thinking novelist? I mean, it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Jacqueline Suzanne or something, you know?
Yeah. Because, the mom, while she was cool with them and she was just like, oh, Freddie, she still had,
she's still part of that society, but she does have a heart.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Okay, so James Ivory and Ismail Merchant were both partners.
They were both in a relationship.
They were business partners. Ismail was the producer, and James is the director, right? But they were in a relationship for 40 years.
Pretty much husbands.
And there's a documentary coming out at the end of this month on them.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's just so fascinating that just in England, that they were just like power couple.
They're power couple, yeah. Yeah, very handsome power couple and very, just beautiful. I was
Yeah,
reading about it.
yeah. I want to look up this documentary that's coming out. I would watch that.
And then like them with Ruth Braver-Javala, that bond they had.
Okay, did she write most of the?
I think that she adapted
most of the
Howard's End.
adaptations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she won an Oscar for this movie.
Oh, she goes
Yeah.
back to the '60s with them.
Yeah.
screenwriting their movies.
A creative
Wow.
partner.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that still that James Ivory is one of the oldest winners of a competitive Oscar.
Oh, really?
For Call Me by Your Name.
Oh, yeah, because is he a
I-
producer on it?
Well, he wrote it.
He wrote the screenplay.
Oh, he adapted it?
Yeah,
That-
he
I don't
adapted the
think that
screenplay.
I don't think that he had won an Oscar until Call Me by Your Name. 'Cause
Really?
I remember that
Wow.
being a.
Oh, wow.
I remember that being a big deal when he won. That he had never won a competitive
Oh,
Oscar.
wow.
He was always like he had a good handful of nominations, but he had never won.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Ruth wrote, like she worked with them all the way through the night. She wrote Jefferson in Paris.
Is she still with us?
Surviving Picasso. I have to go all the way to the top to see the link. Let me see.
Oh, James is.
James is he's 96.
She died in 2013.
Yeah, she died in 2013.
Yeah.
At
Ismail was
85.
85, yeah.
2005.
Yeah, 2005 he passed, and he wasn't even 70. He was 68. Wow. 2005. Okay. So he was considerably younger than James Ivory. Not considered 10 years.
10 years?
That's not
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. Ivory was 1928. He was born in 36.
The picture they used for, I think, the documentary is really that great picture of them sitting, I think, on a bench or something. They look so great.
Yeah, I just remember when I started kind of caring about Oscars and watching award shows and all that, because my mom watched every year. And this is back when the Golden Globes were on like
Your mom sounds pretty cool because I've been
Oh.
here listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
We would watch the Golden Globes when they were on TBS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they weren't
okay.
even on network.
I remember that.
They
yeah.
were on basic cable. And I remember because Melanie Griffith won for Working Girl, and she gets up there and she goes, she's all flustered, and she goes, "Oh shit." And they didn't bleep it. And I was like, "Oh!"
I love her.
And my mom loved it. She loved Melanie Griffith. Let's see.
Well, and always just kind of an Oscar mainstay until, I mean, a good time in the 90s with Howard's End and Remains of the Day.
Yeah.
Too.
And both of those, I think, are such powerful movies.
Yeah.
I watched
Yeah.
Remains of the Day again just recently with my family. We all love that movie.
It's called Merchant Ivory. It's coming out in 2024 this year. So
Okay.
we'll see. We'll try and catch a trailer for that one. But I would love to see this.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see that.
Helena's in it. A
I mean-
documentary film. I love
Oh,
this.
look at the beautiful, yeah.
Well,
That's very
Jim
limited
Ivory,
view.
I mean, he definitely had an eye for talent with kind of breaking to a mainstream audience.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Helena Bonham Carter, definitely Emma Thompson.
Emma Thompson.
Too.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about Simon Cowell. I just love him, and I love him in this movie.
We barely spoke about Simon Cowell.
This is the sound of his voice when
Yeah.
when they see him at the pensione, and he says, "How do you do? How do you do?" It's just so politely confident.
Yeah,
I just love him in this role.
Yeah, he's in the little doc that's on the Criterion channel.
Oh, I'm gonna go
and he was just kind of relating a story about Maggie Smith, and he said something. He was just retelling something that she said, and he didn't do a voice. He was speaking in his own voice. But the way he said it was her cadence and
Yeah.
delivery. And I was like, oh, my God, that was Maggie Smith. That's so great. I love him. So I remember, I mean, obviously, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, right?
Yes.
That's
Who is he in 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
He is
saw it
one of the
once.
gay ones.
Is he the guy that dies?
Yes, he's the
Okay.
guy that dies.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Gareth
That's
is his
right.
character's name. I'm pretty sure he's the one that dies. And so I remember, Shakespeare in Love. He's in Phantom of the Opera.
He's a tiny part in Postcards from the Edge as the director.
Oh, okay.
As one of the directors.
Okay.
Oh, is he one of the new owners in Phantom of the Opera?
Phantom, yes.
Okay.
He's one of the new owners, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's in this British movie, this British gay movie. Let's see. Is he in it? Am I thinking of the right?
I think I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes, it's Bedrooms and Hallways with Australian Matrix agent Smith.
Hugo Weaving?
Hugo Weaving.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
He's the lead in that, and it's Hugo Weaving, and it's Kevin McKidd from Trainspotting, and Simon Callow's in it. And I remember seeing it
Jennifer
a long time
Illy?
ago, and
Yeah.
it was I really enjoyed it.
Oh.
But it's a very kind of like it's from '98.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom Hollander. Interesting.
Tom
I'll have to check
Hollander,
that
that's
out.
crazy. I didn't even remember half these people that are in it, but yeah.
What's it called?
Bedrooms and Hallways. Yeah. I always remember the poster at the time was this one. I would always see that in the video store because Hugo Weaving is like in the closet and he's like a businessman and he's like always like finding these tricks or whatever. So he's got like it's like a hotel key that he's got. So yeah. But Simon Callow, he's really funny. He's just like a really good character actor, and he's just got like that voice is just so like distinctive and
I
so
love
funny.
the bathing scene. We have Twink,
Yeah.
Bear. We have
yeah.
Although I don't know,
something
like
for everybody.
Yeah, totally.
But like Simon with the shirt off though.
What's that?
Like
Simon with his shirt off.
he does kind of have some like muscle definition on him though.
He's
yeah.
I wouldn't mind at all.
He has a pretty good upper body.
Yeah.
You were there.
I was into it
for the Reverend Mr. Beebe.
Not that I really ever care, but he appears gifted. Yeah. It's not a deal thing.
Yeah,
for me,
I
still.
mean, all right. So this whole skinny dipping nude scene situation is kind of like it's in the Wikipedia production notes. It's like this movie's known for it. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, all right, they're going to be naked in it. And I was like, this you see everything.
Yeah.
Julian Sands says that Sands says that Jim
everything.
sold this scene to them. That I think it's Simon talks about it of that being sold of that it's going to be shot from the waist up in the water.
Oh, you're kidding!
In the water,
it's like Basic Instinct.
And the water will be warm. And Simon was just like.
Lies.
So pretty much as we were filming that scene, that all went out the door. As they were photographing it, and I'm sure that pond was cold.
Oh, and fetid and
that looked like what is this?
But Rupert Graves like jumps onto Julian Sands at one point, like
completely naked.
No things.
Yeah,
touched.
he fully just jumped on it in his back. I was like, whoa, okay. I like when Lucy kind of shows Cecil, and she's like, "Oh, this is the lake," and he's like, "It's hardly a lake."
Yeah,
yeah.
She's like, "Shut up! It's just like our little like family little."
And I used to bathe there until I got found out. The little girl would love to be naked.
I was going to say it was probably a thing where at a certain point her mom was like, "All right, you can't be getting in there naked anymore.
Yeah,
like, it's time. The boys can, but you're too big. You're too old now. Like, get out."
Yeah.
And she probably was just fine with swimming in there naked with her brother and like whoever, just like what.
But God bless this scene though. So good.
It
is a great scene.
Had I but known, if we had this on VHS, it would have been
I mean, like I said, kind of a perfect cover of a movie to rent because it's not like you're going to be getting the third degree for renting.
I'm straight up
renting a room with the view.
Well, I don't know. I'm sitting there renting Garbage Pail Kids one day, and then I'm like, give me this Merchant Ivory. Yeah. I feel like I would have to have a cover of I'm doing a book report.
I shared this movie with a few friends a couple years ago, and it was just maybe 2 or 3 of us were gay. The rest were hetero men and women, and they didn't know what to expect. And to hear them and see them laughing.
Yeah.
And then, or our ice cream break. Should we go back to the movie? And this one guy says, yeah, I want to see what happens to that girl. It's like, it's so far reaching how fun this movie is under this other cover that you think it might,
Sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It has this air of just like stuffy British, Regency kind of thing, but no, it's
the question mark dashes all that. As soon as you see the P's and a question mark.
Yep. No, totally. That's when you're like, all right, okay, this is going to be something a little different. These movie makers know what's going on. Howard's End, I can't speak to. That one still scares me.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I mean, it got Emma Thompson that Oscar.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
All right. Well, I guess I'll see that too.
Not as goofy.
Okay. All right.
But I want the house.
Well, is the house Howard's End?
The house is Howard's End,
Okay.
and I always think my dream house is Howard's End with Wi-Fi.
Interesting. It looks like they did
Central Air.
a television adaptation in 2007
of A Room with
with Elaine Cassidy from The Others and Rafe Spall.
Oh, I like Rafe Spall.
Rafe Spall, yeah,
Okay.
interesting.
It's cute.
Elaine Cassidy from The Others. Does she play the girl that doesn't talk?
Yeah, she plays the girl that doesn't
Oh.
talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I love that movie.
And she's
too.
Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who's Rafe Spall? Is he Cecil or is he George?
He's George.
Okay.
I can see him as George.
All right.
Lawrence Fox plays Cecil.
Not familiar, but we'll look it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I loved your episode on The Others too.
That movie's so much fun.
It's a fun episode.
It's still scary.
It is so
It's
scary.
still creepy. Love it. Oh, goodness. Well, this has been a ton of fun.
This
We
has
should
been
probably
fun.
wrap it up,
I'm
though.
glad that we got to this movie.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to finally watch it. I need to watch. I need to watch Morris.
You do.
And I'll correctly pronounce it Morris instead of Maurice.
Yeah. I mean, you'll
No.
get it because they say it in the
Yeah,
movie. So
yeah.
it'll stick. But to see Rupert Graves as the groundskeeper that James Wilby falls in love with,
Okay.
it's
I mean,
it's
how could
very,
you? I mean, how could you not?
how could you not? Yeah. How could you?
I mean,
not?
also 1987. Hugh Grant, get the fuck out of here.
he's
That
really
angel
gorgeous.
face.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
goodness.
he's more like a dramatic version of Sissel in it.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean.
Okay. All right.
He's very
all right.
proper.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Rufino. This was a ton of fun.
It was fun to finally
So
do
welcome.
this in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I can't believe we are in person.
I know.
And not the social distance FaceTime call.
I know, and I get to see your cool art and cats and everything.
Our cool apartment.
Yeah.
See, you guys, we're cool. Don't just take our word for it.
They are. They're very cool. Pinnacle of cool.
All right. Well, we'll try not to make it so many episodes in between your next time on the show.
Okay.
Because you're always welcome to come back and
Thank
and
you.
talk about something. Maybe it'll be Morris. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Something Merchant Ivory's always.
All right. Well, it was great to have you on once again. Listeners, stick around. We will be right back. Listeners, welcome back. Thank you for sticking around to the very end of the episode.
Yeah, always much appreciated.
Much appreciated. That was a lot of fun. Thanks again to Rufino for choosing this movie. And thank you to Merchant Ivory for making it fun and accessible even 30 years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun for us. But I think right now it is time
Patreon shout-outs?
for Patreon.
Let's hear 'em.
Shout-outs. I want to say hello and thank you to all of our active patrons, including Richard, Jeff, Deja, Amy, Erica, Anna, Mitchie, our friends at How Do You Drew, Andy, Kate, Pep, Roberto, Daisy, Patrick, Kelly, Chrissy, Stephen, Desiree, Laura, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Millie, Ted, Benny, Melanie, Susan, Shelby, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Don, Joshua, Aaron, John, Nick, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and our pal Rufino.
This week's guest.
This week's guest.
Always the iconic last Patreon shout-out.
Yeah, always, every week. You guys, Patreon is on and popping this summer. We have our summer series of Beverly Hills 90210 rewatch. Those are coming out every other Monday, as well as our regular TV That Made Us Gay at the $5 level. You get both of those. And at the $10 level, you get all of that, plus our Watch With Us commentary
There's
track.
a lot of fun stuff right now on the
Yes,
Patreon.
indeed. Our most recent Watch With Us commentary was...
Twister.
Twister.
There'll be one around the time this episode comes out that is brand new.
Yeah, that was July 19th, so not quite a month ago.
Towards the end of the month, around the 30th or so, that is when the television episode comes out.
Yes, indeed. And the 90210 should have, by the time this airs, there should be a fresh 90210 up for your listening pleasure. So head over to patreon.com/Movies That Made Us Gay.
Check out all the
for
fun
more
stuff.
information on all of our supplemental bonus episodes. We'd also love it if you rate and review the show. Head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us 5 stars.
Yeah, give us 5 stars.
Right?
Write us a kind review. We would love to read it.
If you're on Apple Podcasts, if you have an iPad or an iPhone, Apple Podcasts is pre-installed. Just go ahead and search for podcasts and then search for Movies That Made Us Gay and write a review. We'll read it on an upcoming episode, and go ahead and smash 5 stars. We're at a 4.9 rating right now, which is awesome. And all that stuff helps. All that engagement helps the show reach a wider audience. Speaking of which, head over to Instagram. Open up your Instagram and follow at Movies That Made Us Gay.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Facebook, all of the social media platforms. We're most active on Instagram.
Yes, indeed. And our posts are a lot of fun and pretty funny, if I do say so myself. So follow us there. And again, any interaction, like, comment, save, share, repost, post in your stories, all that fun stuff, all that engagement goes directly to keeping helping the show to reach a wider audience. So thank you all of our wonderful patrons, and thank you for everybody who follows us on socials and does all that engagement. You guys are the best. We love interacting with our listeners that way. So you can follow our personals as well if you are so inclined. My name is Pete. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram. And Scott is...
I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. So, thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.